Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. And, yeah, first fight we got in the middleweight division. We got Schultz versus Pinas. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Pinas to beat Schultz. This is really a low confidence pick, but I'll go average. Why not? Who cares? But average here. Schultz does got a very good chance to win here in the grappling, particularly. Outside that, nothing else. But grappling, that's where his chance to win is. Pinas in some of his previous fights outside the UFC looked very questionable in the grappling department. I think Schultz can definitely look to exploit that if he does win this fight. But I just feel like Schultz's ceiling is extremely low, extremely low in MMA. What I'm saying, man, in UFC. Maybe outside of some of the other leagues, regional. I'm not gonna say PFL or Bellator even exists, but because I don't think he'll ever be championship level in there either. But you know, some of the little regions leagues, he'd probably be a champion, 2 division, 3 division champion potentially. But here, very low ceiling, just not very athletic. Wrestling solid, he's pretty tough, but striking. But again, his wrestling not nothing special. His striking is very low level, and whatever. But yeah, Pinas has a higher upside. You know, Pinas addressed that grappling side and continue to improve in that area. He has a high ceiling. And then, again, improving the striking as well, but more so right now at the level he's at. He's only 23 years old, I think. Got a good frame, great athleticism, great build, great this, great that. If he keeps improving upon the wrestling, it gets added to the striking. You know, the sky's the limit for me. Again, he's only 23. In 10 years, he'll be 33. Still be, you know, has some years left. So, he got a lot of time if he's willing to use it and willing to grow. So, yeah, Pinas is a solid fighter. The grappling concerns me, but I think he'll continue to show improvement here. Be able to address the grappling of Schultz, use this as a good test, and then pick him apart and put him away late in the first round. So, in this one, I got Pinas via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, we got Silva versus Francis Marshall. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go average confidence Francis Marshall to beat Silva. Silva is like pushing 40 years old. Been taking 2-year layoffs. I say layoffs. He's been taking 2-year layoffs and stuff. And in those layoffs, he's lost. So he took a 2-year layoff, lost. Took another 2-year layoff, came back and lost. Now he's taking another 2-year layoff. I mean, he has taken another 2-year layoff and he's coming back. So he's been wasting a lot of years and he already didn't have much years to give. And now he's pushing 40 here. Coming off 2 losses. Coming off inactivity yet again. And Francis Marshall has been showing great improvement. I think Francis Marshall is the better overall fighter. He's the much younger fighter, much more upside, much more growth. And he looked great against Byron Santos, the fight that he arguably won. I think he'll be able to mix it up here against Silva, beat him everywhere, mix up the martial arts, break him down. And I think he submits Silva in the second round. So, in this one, I got Francis Marshall via second round submission. Now, to the next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Kareckaite versus Sofia Montenegro. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Kareckaite to beat Sofia Montenegro. Yeah, really here, Kareckaite has the height and reach, and she has experience here. I think she's a more technical striker. And I think she has better conditioning as well. So I think Montenegro has more power, more pop in her shots. But I think Kareckaite will be able to just outwork her, outland her, and beat her by decision here. I think Montenegro is tough, but the lack of experience here will factor against her. And I think Kareckaite would use that height and reach and the volume to beat Montenegro by decision here. So, in this one, I have Kareckaite via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, we got Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. And how do I feel about this one is I'll go low confidence Javier Reyes to beat Silva de Andrade. And yeah, I think Javier Reyes is well-rounded enough. And he's the much younger man of the two. I'm not saying much younger, but he's notably younger. Not super younger, but yeah, 8 years younger. I guess that is a lot. That is a lot. They may not be like, oh, he's 25 and this guy is 45, but 8 years is a whole lot in me. Because again, it's the difference between like being kind of smack dab in your prime at like 32 or 31, and then being 39 or 40 or something. So it could be a big difference. Or it could be the difference you being like a Gerber baby, 20 years old, 19 years old, versus a guy that's like, you know, really starting to settle into himself at 28. So yeah, 8 years is a big difference. But yeah, Silva de Andrade is a very experienced fighter. Well-rounded himself as well. Packs a lot of power. Physical specimen, but up there in age. Definitely winnable fight for him. Without a doubt, a winnable fight for Silva de Andrade. But leaning to the younger fighter who's in his prime. to mix it up and just, just be more present, more active, and use that youth to his advantage to outwork the older fighter here in Douglas Silva de Andrade. But again, Douglas Silva de Andrade is always live here against this level of competition. So don't count him out. That's why my confidence is low. But I think Javier Reyes should have enough at this moment in time to beat a 40-year-old Douglas Silva de Andrade. So in this one, I got Javier Reyes via decision. Now to the next fight we have in the bantamweight division, we got Christian Quinonez versus Chris Moutinho. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Christian Quinonez to beat Chris Moutinho. And basically I think Quinonez is going to be mixed up more and beat him. Moutinho is just going to strike. Going to look to strike, be busy, be a wahoo, stay in his face and swing, and hopefully look to connect or outwork, break him down, beat him, stuff like that. But nothing more. Like, not going to be mixing in no takedowns. More so going to be trying to stuff takedowns and scramble back to his feet and stay in Quinonez's face and wear him down, break him down, and stop him. That's going to be his path for. Maybe just look to outwork him over the course of the fight. That's going to be his only path. Whereas Quinonez could potentially knock him out. Moutinho could potentially knock him out too, but Moutinho could potentially knock him out, potentially decision him. But Quinonez could sub him. He could knock him out. He could decision him. But I'll say more so decision here. I think Quinonez is going to use the fact that he's a much more well-rounded fighter here to not play into Moutinho's game, force Moutinho to have to do other things and have to defend takedowns, have to defend submission attempts, and force the work and not allow him to just have a one-track game plan as he would love to have, or have a one-track, one type of fight as he would like to have. Again, force him to think about takedowns. Then we start to think about takedowns, come with shots over the top and crack Moutinho. It's not like Moutinho has defense to even begin with. Then once you start to defend other things or worry about other things, the hands get even lower, the chin gets even higher, and start to crack him big shots. But all in all, just mixing it up, keep him thinking, keep him guessing, and keep him, if he's, you got him responding and defending, then he's not on offense as much as he wants to be. And then you start to have him playing to your fiddle, and I think that's what Quinonez is going to do. And I think he beats Moutinho by decision here. So in this one, I got Christian Quinonez via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Macy Chiasson versus Eileen Perez. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Eileen Perez to beat Macy Chiasson. I think Chiasson is a solid fighter, but the Minto just has never really been there consistently. Bantamweight is not her best weight class. They got rid of her best weight class, which was 45. She fights at her best at 45. At 35, I just feel like she's not the same fighter she is at 45. And that weight cut takes some out of her brain. She loses some brain juice at 35. And that's what it is. But, she's been a slow starter in fights that she was in her last fight. She allows rounds to get swept up underneath her. And, there's a lot of stuff I just don't like from her. But she got good size. She can strike. She can grapple. But a lot of times she just can't put it all together. And a lot of times she just don't mentally check in. And I could see Perez capitalizing on that, getting takedowns early, just outworking her. Then Chiasson yet again trying to rally. And as I said in the quick pick, they kind of like mirror each other in how they win and lose. Perez, as far as the scenario, it comes together is a Perez win. Like Chiasson loses fights where she's a slow starter. Like she'll come back and win the third round, but she'll allow herself to get dug in a hole and then be chasing the win in the third round, trying to get a finish or do something, and you already down 2 rounds. Perez, she's a hot starter, but she can fade. So it'll be the case where Perez wins the first 2 rounds, and Chiasson once again in the same scenario where she's trying to chase the win in the third round. And I see that kind of scenario. But Perez coming off the early start, come out aggressive. Not going to be the most technical striking, but she's going to be the one initiating, looking to land big shots, looking to push Chiasson back, looking to go for the takedowns. And Chiasson is going to be too willing to play second fiddle here and put herself behind yet again in a fight. And I see Perez just outworking her, getting off the early start and capitalizing on Chiasson's lack of urgency and beating her by decision. So in this one, I got Eileen Perez via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Jose Medina versus Ryan Gandra. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go average confidence Ryan Gandra to beat Jose Medina. I'm not going to talk too much about this one. Gandra is a well-rounded fighter, shows sharp striking, well-rounded skill set. Medina doesn't have any skill set. He's just tough. That's all he is. He's a tough punching bag, but toughness can only get you so far. it was lucky enough to get him a contract because they liked how much of a punching bag he was and how much this, that. But that's all he got. I think Ryan Gandra picks him apart. And I think Medina's, I'm going to say he stops. I'm going to say like late second round TKO. I think once he got stopped in the last fight, I think it opens up the floodgate. And again, it's not like Medina has any defense or anything like that or any particular skills. I think Ryan Gandra was able to pick him apart, break him down, and stop him late in the second round. So in this one, I got Ryan Gandra via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go average confidence Santiago Luna to beat Angel Pacheco. And once again, you got a tough fighter with nothing else really about him. I think Santiago Luna's Lunga. I'm adding extra letters. Where's that G come from? Lunga, or Lunga. But anyway, Santiago Luna. I guess the Ago, Lung, bringing that G. I'm carrying up. I'm doing long division. I'm doing calculus on these names. But either way, average confidence Luna. Pacheco is a punching bag. Luna picks him apart, breaks him down. Same prediction, second round TKO. Average confidence. So in this one, I got Santiago Luna via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Emmanuel Rodriguez to beat Kevin Borjas. So Rodriguez was more of an offensive grappler, like really more intense about the grappling. Yeah, this might be average against Borjas. Borjas does have very suspect grappling. But Rodriguez primarily prefers to strike. Again, he can mix it up for sure. That's why I'm picking it. If it was pure striking, I might slide Borjas as the underdog. But again, Rodriguez definitely mixes it up. So I say if he was more so forward with the grappling, it would be an easier pick for Rodriguez. But again, Rodriguez primarily strikes more than grapples, but he does mix up probably like, I'm going to say like 60-40 or 55. No, I'm not going to say that. It's more like maybe 65-35, but a good enough mix of it. And he might move it in this fight to like 60-40. Because he's going over a guy that has questionable grappling. But yeah, Borjas definitely the more technical striker here. Definitely has a lot of UFC experience. Definitely still got some, young enough. It's not like he's some over-the-hill guy. Only 28 years old. He's only 2 years older. And he has a wealth more of UFC experience. So you got to respect that. But that's why I'm going low confidence here. But I think Rodriguez is the more well-rounded fighter. Has the far greater upside. I think he mixes it up and grinds out Borjas to a decision. I think he mixes the striking in, blends in the grappling, and beats Borjas by decision. But I do think that this. What am I doing with my mouth? I do think that this is a competitive scrap. But I think Rodriguez clearly wins, and I think he's clearly more rounded. And I think he will definitely mix it up, and that will be greatly to his advantage, and will lead to him getting his hand raised here. So in this one, I have Emmanuel Rodriguez via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Edgar Chairez to beat Felipe Bunes. So this is not really for any particular skill that one picking Chairez, is more so for the mindset and the mentality. Bunes might be the more technical striker. He might be the more technical grappler in my opinion, but I feel like Chairez is the tougher fighter. He's the more mentally tough fighter, whereas Bunes is kind of more mentally weak. Bunes has some solid striking. He has a good frame to him. He has good grappling. And Chairez, when he's been winning a lot of these fights, he's been winning these fights by submission. And Bunes is pretty solid in the grappling department. Again, might be the more technically sound grappler, to be honest here. But all in all, I feel like Chairez can push the pace. Chairez can lead the dance. And I feel like Bunes is not that mentally tough guy. I feel like Chairez can lose a round here and come back and win. I feel like Chairez can come out here and stop in the first round. Or Chairez, I feel like Chairez has more paths to victory. I feel like Bunes kind of has to be a best case scenario for Bunes to win. Like, he just has to come out to a good start and put Chairez down bad in something that he really can't rally behind too much. Where, again, Chairez can come back and rally. Chairez can come out and dominate. As like Bunes is kind of like a fighter that, the fight needs to really be going his way to win. He's not a guy that has shown great mental toughness at a high level. Has not shown scrappiness at a high level. And I think Chairez is, ultimately that's what it's going to be. It might not be the prettiest, but Chairez just grinding out, breaking down Bunes over the course of the fight, whether it's like takedowns and having to deal with adversity on the ground, defending submissions from Bunes, or defending bad positions, or just in general, just scrambling, just have to grind him down. Again, not going to be at the prettiest. Not going to have to be adversity necessarily, like him just having to defend a guillotine or a triangle choke, or end up like the worst case scenarios. But like just him having to battle through and like this, work and chisel down Bunes over the course of the fight and just break him down. But either way, whether it's super adversity, moderate adversity, or little adversity, or maybe no adversity, I just feel like in the case where Chairez is going to have to break down Bunes, of course, the fight. And then, what I'll say, they're in Mexico, so he might go for a safe performance. I'll say TKO. I'll say third round TKO for Edgar Chairez. Just breaking him down over the course of the fight, making him mentally check out, then putting him out. So in this one, I got Edgar Chairez via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Daniel Zellhuber versus Bobby Green, or King Green. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Daniel Zellhuber to beat Bobby Green. Yeah, Bobby Green's been getting, even in wins, he's been getting rocked in every single fight he's been in. Like rocked, like clipped and dropped in every single fight he's been in. Jim Miller fight, I think he got rocked in that fight. Paddy Pimblett a little bit. Again, I can't name them all off the top of my head, but how many loss streak is he on right now? Oh, he coming off a win over a guy brought in short notice. But anyway, wins or losses. Outside his last fight, he's been getting rocked or dropped, win or lose in all of them outside of his last fight. He's up there in age. Well, he's pushing 40 versus a 26-year-old Zellhuber, who's primed to, make up for his last fight. Bobby Green's more of a counter grappler for the most part than really a guy that has done exceptional against strikers. When you look at his track record, he's done as well against, like, again, Jim Miller is primarily a BJJ black belt. Jim Miller got hands, but he's primarily a BJJ black belt. His primary is a grappler. And the last big upset he had was over a grappler. So Bobby Green's biggest upsets are typically over grappler. Like you look at the beginning of his UFC tenure towards the later stage of career, his biggest moments in career are upsets over grapplers. Like, and he typically gets starched by strikers. Typically. So yeah, going with a young 26-year-old Zellhuber, Bobby Green already having the tendency to keep his hands low. I can see Zellhuber tearing him up with kicks, eventually sneaking a kick up top, and also Bobby Green's last loss was a spinning head kick. So technically a head kick. And I think Zellhuber will mix up, chop him down, set up the head kick, and knock him out in the second round. So in this one, I got Daniel Zellhuber via second round TKO. Now to our co-main event, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Marlon Vera versus David Martinez. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence David Martinez to beat Marlon Vera. And I could yap a whole lot, but I'm not going to yap too much about this one. Vera, definitely the far more accomplished, far more experienced fighter. He definitely still has plenty in the tank, I think Vera does. But he still got the same flaws in his game. He lets too many rounds get behind him. And that's just a bad flaw. I feel like if Vera pushed more, he probably could test Martinez's gas tank, which I still think is somewhat suspect. But Vera's not really going to be the guy to test your gas tank. He's going to be the guy that's going to test your mental more so, like your mental lapses. Oh, this guy he continues to drop his rear hand. Oh, this guy continues to leave the middle of his guard open, so the front kick is there. Or again, he leans this way, so the head kick is there. Like he'll have to see that same pattern, like train for it for plenty of months, and then in the fight see it for like 13 minutes before he chooses to capitalize on it. So he's not a guy that's going to typically look to really push you and break it down. And I think that's within him, but for some reason he just does not fight that style. Maybe scared himself of what's coming back or whatever, so he prefers to be more highly defensive or at least more concerned about what's coming back, so he kind of lowered his own output. But he's shown he has had a chin. He's shown he's capable enough, so why not just be more aggressive, go out there? It's not like everybody's trying to take you down. Martinez probably going to try to mix some takedowns, but I don't think Martinez wrestling all that good. So you would think just go in there, let him go for the takedowns, train to defend it, stuff some takedowns. He gets some, so what, get back to your feet. It's going to be exhausting for him to try to hold you down, get back to your feet. That's going to take out of his gas tank. We know you got a gas tank. You know you got experience going 5 rounds. So stuff the takedowns, get back to your feet, defend the takedowns, jams some heavy knees to his body, into his chest, slips him up to his chin, throw some hard elbows, start to cut him open, puts him on his back foot. That'd be smart. But now he probably going to let Martinez be out there flashy, doing a lot of kicks. Then Vera's going to be slow and stalking. Then we start engaged. Martinez probably going to look for some takedowns. And Vera just not going to be doing too much about it, or not doing enough about it, or have little moments here and there. But again, not too much of a focus to do it. And just going to leave himself behind the ball again. And Martinez just outworks him to a decision. And at this point, Vera probably knows like he's not gonna be a champion in UFC. He might tell himself that, but he probably knows he's not going to be. Lost too many key fights, and has not really made any major changes in his style at all. So at this point, he's just kind of fighting to stay in the UFC and stay where he's at and continue to make the money he is making, but not really no great urgency to be a better fighter or try to be champion or make the adjustment necessary to that he could possibly even think about being a champion in the UFC. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, Martinez outworking Vera here. Typical Vera fight. Maybe a little rally in the late round, but not enough. And even this is a hobby fight. He could have finished the hobby, but he has Zahabi hurt. Now I think he clinched up with him. Like, it just don't make no sense a lot of what Vera does. But yeah. In this one, I got David Martinez via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the flyweight division, we got Brandon Moreno versus Lonir Kavanagh. Or Loney, however you say his name. In the main event, Brandon Moreno, Lonir Kavanagh. Average confidence, Brandon Moreno to beat Lonir Kavanagh. Yeah, Lonir Kavanagh's a solid fighter. Amazing talent. But this fight don't make no sense. You just got knocked out by Charles Johnson. I guess you're hoping to have a Joshua Van experience. Like, you got knocked out by Charles Johnson. And then, next thing you know, you're fighting for a title. But even though Joshua Van went on, progressively went up. He didn't go out and get knocked out by Charles Johnson and then fight a former champion. That's not how it went. And he went on a big winning streak before he fought for the belt. Or like a 3-fight winning streak. You're getting knocked out and then immediately fighting a former champion. And then immediately fighting a 5-round fight. And you still have not, even in those prior fights, addressed your cardio. Because even prior to Charles Johnson fighting, literally before the Charles Johnson fight, he faded in in a 3-round fight. Then in Johnson fight, faded in a 3-round fight. He was lucky that fight was his 3-round fight prior because he was getting hurt. And he just did enough to survive after winning the first 2 rounds. And then in the Johnson fight, was dominated. And he got clipped and got put out in the 3rd round. Third round. So he hasn't even addressed his cardio in 3 rounds. Now he's in a 5-round fight with a much better fighter than he's ever fought. But yeah, he's an amazing fighter. I could see him actually winning some of these early rounds. I could see him winning some early rounds. But now you're in there with a guy that's going to push you harder than you ever been pushed. You haven't took the time off. You haven't done the right steps to get to this level. And it's like you're just jumping in short notice till you see opportunity, but it don't make no sense. But yeah, hey, anything can happen. But average confidence Moreno, as I said before, I could see Kavanagh having good early success. Could see him looking great in the first round. I could see him looking like a future champion in the early rounds, but possibly. But I'm not saying I could see it, but more like, again, I could see it, but the more likely outcome I could see is, again, probably competitive first round, maybe leaning Kavanagh. But Moreno really starts to, again, maybe, but more so leaning Moreno winning the first round, maybe even dominating the first round, break him down over the course of the first 2 rounds, then put him away in the 3rd round via TKO. Either way, 3rd round TKO, but more so leaning Moreno winning that round. Competitive first round, but more so leaning Moreno. Second round, Moreno starts to break it away. In the 3rd round, Moreno just dominated by the 3rd round, breaking Kavanagh down. And then, I'm gonna say TKO, not submission. 3rd round TKO. But yeah, competitive first round, but still leading Moreno. 2nd round, Moreno, more clear. And we start to see the wearing down of Kavanagh. In the 3rd round, dominant Moreno. Then finishing Kavanagh mid to late 3rd round. So, in this one, I got Brandon Moreno via 3rd round TKO. And so, that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.